Hello, this is Jason, back with another walk and talk. And it's been like a couple months, I think, since I talked to you guys over here on this channel, which is the Some More Jason channel. I should start posting stuff to Facebook too. I might even upload all of my Thailand videos to Facebook, because I'm sure there's people on Facebook that don't go to my YouTube channel, so maybe I'll do that. But anyway, what's been going on? My diet is still going great. Since February, I've lost 60 pounds since February. And I'm down 140 pounds from my all-time high. So that's like a small man. There's plenty of men that are 140 pounds. So I've metabolized a whole small man. And that's only in like about 3 years. It took me 3 years to metabolize a small man. But the trick, I guess, or my magic bullet has been the Contrave. It makes me not hungry at all, gives me an energy boost, and it, I guess, removes the desire, the food addiction. So the Contrave is a mix of two drugs: bupropion, which is like Wellbutrin. It's like an antidepressant. It's also used to help people stop smoking. So it helps, with addictions. And food is kind of an addiction when it's unhealthy. When you're eating food for like enjoyment rather than just sustenance. Overindulging, I should say, because you could still enjoy food and eat it in moderation. But I had a unhealthy addiction to food, where I would eat just so much food. And then the other half of the medication, Contrave, is naltrexone. And that's used to help people get off of addictions too. It's helped to get people off of heroin addiction, and I think alcoholism, and also food addiction. So the combination of both of those has been the magic bullet for me. And sometimes I forget to eat. It'll be like 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm like, oh my goodness, I've not ate anything all day. So, and then what I have been eating, I did make the video on my main channel showing how I get those Sam's rotisserie chickens and rip them off, or rip all the meat off and bag them up and put them in the refrigerator. I am doing that. And I was doing like eating half a chicken for a while a day. And now I'm eating like sometimes just a quarter of the chicken a day, and then a half a pound of broccoli or a can of green beans. And that's what I eat almost every day. And then, like last night, I went out with my friend Ron to the movies and saw Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning Part 2, which was very good. I just rewatched Part 1 a couple days ago. That's definitely the best Mission Impossible there is. Total runtime is like a little under 6 hours for Part 1 and Part 2, but it's action-packed, awesome story too with the AI. I recommend it if you have not seen it. Watch part 1 and part 2. But anyway, I went to the movies and I had chicken wings with just buffalo sauce. So just regular hot sauce. There's no sugar, no carbs in that, no carbs in the wings. And it came with celery sticks and carrot sticks, which I ate those with ranch dressing. So it's all very low carb. You could still go out and eat, although there's some places that there's not many non-carb selections. Like I met them at Pine House Pizza. And really the only thing I could eat there was a salad with ranch. So I will eat green vegetables and then carrots. I try not to eat them too much because I think they do have a little bit more carbs. But it was only like a few little slivers of sticks. So basically what the diet is, it's not nothing to it. It's basically just not eating a lot of food. If you stop putting food in your mouth, it's amazing how fast weight will come off. Like people, I've heard people say, you know, like, I just can't lose weight. I guarantee you stop putting food in your mouth, you will lose weight. I am living proof of that. It's just it's eating the right things, which for me is as close to zero carbs as you can get. Carnivore worked out really well for me. That was the first 91 pounds I lost. It was just eating steaks. But you have to, if you're gonna do that, you have to only eat steaks. Because steaks is a pretty fatty food. And my uncle has been doing this because he saw me do the carnivore, like the steak diet. He's like, I could do that. But he'll eat like steaks for 3 or 4 days. And then on the weekends, he goes out and eats carbs at restaurants. And we'll have drinks, sugary drinks, and you can't do that. It totally, because it takes about a week for your body to get into ketosis, where you get into the fat burning mode, where your body's running on fat instead of on glucose, which comes from carbs. So if you're cheating every weekend, like by the time, you know, even if you go to eating the steaks again, by the time your body's just starting to get kicked into ketosis and you cheat again, like you're never even getting into fat burning mode. And if you do, it's for like a day. So that's, you know, 1 day out of the week you're losing weight. And plus when you mix the fats with the carbs, that just supercharges fat storage. So he's been doing that for like at least a year, and he's lost like 8 pounds. So it don't work. You have to not eat carbs is really the secret. And you can't do any cheat days. No cheat days. So that's the secret. And what else? Guess I could flip you guys around, put you on my neck here. And I don't know if you've seen this bag I got. It's my alpaca, my alpaca pack. Got a tea in there. Try to put this little selfie stick in there. And then I'll smack you guys on my little neck thing. Here you go. How's that? So what else can I give you an update on? Like a little over a month ago, I hurt my foot trying to run. So like towards the end of my walk, I had maybe, like a tenth of a mile to go. And I ran to my house and I like pulled or strained something in my foot, top of my foot. And I had a hard time. I couldn't walk for a couple of weeks. I took breaks off walking, let my foot heal up. So that kind of sucked. And then it got better, and I had a episode, which was kind of scary. It was pretty much a seizure, which I later found out what caused it. But I got up out of my bed, took like 2 steps towards my kitchen, got to about my bedroom door area, and my brain stopped working. My muscles started, I started buckling at the knees. I was holding my phone in my hand and I couldn't control my hand and dropped my phone. And then I eventually collapsed down on my butt and laid down. But when my legs were weak and I couldn't do anything, I rolled my foot again and then re-injured that same sprain in my foot. So then I was down for another few days. And then I was trying to research to see what that could have possibly been, because that had never happened to me before. I've got up out of bed and got lightheaded, and I've even blacked out before and fell down. That was after I had my nose surgery, because they told me to stop taking my blood pressure medicine. So I stopped taking it, and then it was the night before I took my blood pressure medicine, the full dose that I had been taking 2 weeks before. I should have slowly ramped it back up, but took the full dose, and then I got up out of bed and took a few steps towards the bathroom and blacked out and fell flat on my face on the bathroom floor. So that was not cool. So, I didn't know if it was something like that. So I took my blood pressure. It's 120/76. So it wasn't my blood pressure. I took my blood sugar, which was 80, which is very good for me because my blood sugar's been 110, 120 before this diet. So it wasn't my blood sugar. And the day before, I'd gone to Longhorn and ate a big steak, and it gave me the runs. So I was up all night with the runs the night before. So I was dehydrated, and to help lower my blood pressure, I had stopped eating salt. So I think it was a combination of dehydration plus low electrolytes. If you don't have electrolytes in your body, your brain can't really function properly. You can't conduct electricity without electrolytes. But also, I think one of the biggest factors was I had just taken a big dose of the bupropion. So my doctor had prescribed 4 pills of bupropion a day. Take 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. But I just popped all 4 in the morning. And one of the symptoms of taking too big of a dose of bupropion is seizures. So I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It's a combination. But I've taken 4 pills plenty of times before that. It wasn't something out of the ordinary. But I think it's a combination of taking a larger dose of bupropion, plus being dehydrated, plus not having electrolytes. It was more than one factor that led to that happening. And it's not happened again, but it was kind of scary. I know what having a seizure is like, just not being able to control your body. And as it was happening, I was still conscious and aware that I couldn't control myself. And I said, "What the hell?" That's all I said. "What the hell?" And then I dropped my phone. So it was pretty crazy. So anyone that has like epilepsy or something, I feel for you. It sucks. And what else? So of course we got to talk about Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. Bitcoin just recently hit a new all-time high. I think 112,000. And when I started talking about Bitcoin, which was when I bought in January of 2024, I'd bought in at like 40,000. So I'm already in a little over a year, almost triple my investment, which is not bad. And if you would have told people, back in January 2024, you should invest in Bitcoin, they'd be like, "Oh, it's already up to 40,000. I'm too late. It's probably already topped out. I should have bought it when it was 1,000." But it's going up forever. It's never too late to invest in Bitcoin. Like people at the cycle peak, the last all-time high, the last cycle, because it goes in like 4-year cycles. So it topped out, I think, 2021 at around 63,000, I think, somewhere in the 60s. So if you had bought there and it went down to the low of like 16,000 in 2022, you would have had to wait until 2024 to get back even. But anyone that's bought Bitcoin and held it for at least 4 years has not lost money. So that's the thing. You just gotta hold it. And the reason Bitcoin is going up forever, look at the sun. Very beautiful sun with the clouds. The clouds are making a nice soft filter for the sun. I brought my headlamp too, although I did forget my sweat rag. I always forget something. Sometimes I forget my headlamp and bring my sweat rag, sometimes vice versa, whatever. But anyway, the reason why Bitcoin is going up forever is because governments around the world are going to be printing money and deflating the currency forever. If you look at the M2, the global M2 chart shows how much money is being printed and put into circulation. And it's just like from the bottom left to the top right for the past 50 years. There's nothing going to stop it from going up and up and up. Because our whole monetary system, instead of being based on scarcity, which is what it was back in up to 1971, where it was backed by gold, they couldn't issue more dollars than they had physical gold in Fort Knox or whatever to issue the money. And Nixon in 1971 got us off the gold standard. And if you look at the chart of the money supply, up to 1971 was pretty steady. And then from 1971 to now, it's just straight up and to the right. because they just now, instead of it being backed by gold, it's just debt. It's backed by debt. And so let me explain it this way. Say you take out a loan for $10,000 and you only make $5,000 a year. We're just using small numbers right now. So you're making payments on the loan, and you're not, it would take you, depending on what the interest rate is, which is why they're so worried about interest rates now, and Trump's trying to get the interest rates dropped down, and they're just doing the opposite. They're going up. But okay, so you're paying, let's say, 7% interest on your $10,000 loan. You make $5,000, and then you can never really pay the loan off because it keeps getting higher and higher. So say you have to keep getting another loan to pay off the previous loan. So especially when interest rates go up. So, they'll go up and then you can't afford the payments to make on the loan. So you have to take out another loan to get more money to pay on the original loan. So now I'm going to take out a $20,000 loan and then use some of that money to pay my first loan. And the amount that I'm making, $5,000 a year, is not going up as fast as my debt is going up. So, I might get up to, now I make $10,000 a year, but now I have to increase my loan to $40,000 to pay on the $10,000 loan and then the $20,000 loan. And that's pretty much what's going on a global scale with governments. So the loan is the national debt, or a national debt, I don't even remember what it is right now. It's like $36 trillion or some ungodly, unimaginable number. And that can really never be paid off. And so what they do is they keep taking out bigger loans and adding more to the debt to pay on the original loans that they took out before. So it's always going to be going up and up and up. So they're always going to have to be printing more and more money to service the loans that they have, which their debt really is to the Federal Reserve Bank, the government's debt. And what else was I going to say about that? Basically, you just have to keep printing money in order to service the debt. Oh, and to make the debt itself lower in value, you just devalue the dollar. So the more money that you print, so say I have $10,000 in circulation and I have a $20,000 debt. So each one of my dollars, it'll take two of my dollars to pay off, $2 per the 10,000 to pay off the $20,000 loan. But if I print another $10,000 and inflate the money supply, I still only have to pay the $2 to service that loan, in nominal terms, 20,000. But now there's twice as much money in circulation, and the money is worth half as much. But it's still, I only had to pay 20,000 because that's what the balance was. So that's what they're doing, is they're devaluing the currency to make their debt less, and just rolling the debt from one to the next. And whenever that happens, assets go up in value, but they're not really going up in value. It's more that the currency that they're being priced in is being devalued. So my house is really not worth twice as much as it was when I bought it. The currency that it's valued in, the US dollar, is worth half as much as it was when I bought it. So, and that's the same for like any physical goods. That's why the price of fruits go up. That's all the food goes up, and eggs go up, and pretty much everything. It's just because the currency is being devalued. But hard assets like gold, you can see gold has gone from like 1800 to 3300. So it's almost doubled in the past few years. And all that is basically from the big print that they did around COVID, where they printed like 40% of all money that it was ever created was created in that year around COVID. So they super inflated the money supply. Usually they only print about 10, 12% of the money supply per year. So that's like the hurdle rate. If you're not earning 10 to 12% on your investment, you're actually losing money. So if you like put your money into like a money market account and you're getting 4% interest and they're printing 10% more money, then you're really losing 6% of your buying power every year. And if you're not getting at least a 6% raise at work every year, which I don't know many people that do, at my work it's usually only 1 to 3%. 3% if you're lucky. Usually it's 1. Sometimes it's none. So you're actually, if you don't get a raise that meets that money supply inflation rate, you're actually losing buying power. You might get more money in dollars terms, but those dollars will not buy as much as they used to. And then the value of houses go up and everything else, the inflation of prices. But the more scarce the asset, like gold is really scarce. I think they're only getting like 2%, 2 to 3% more supply of gold every year. And as the price goes up like to 3,300, they'll probably fire up more mines. They'll get more people interested in actually getting the gold because it's more valuable. So, it might go up to 4 or 5%. They might find more gold. And I remember there's something in some African country that they said they just found like a huge amount of gold. So that could, the supply of gold could go up a lot over the next few years. And, houses are pretty scarce, especially when all of these investment companies have been buying them they're not living in them. They just buy them and they might rent them out, or in some cases, people buy houses and just let them sit there. But usually they rent them out. But that makes the supply of homes scarce. And then if they're not building enough to keep up with how many are being sold, then the prices have to go up. So whenever there's a lack of supply, the release valve of that is price appreciation. Because, the more scarce it is, the more someone's willing to pay to get it. Because, if they don't pay that price more than the other person's willing to pay, they're not going to get it. So, and that's like the same with like diamonds, although with diamonds, it's kind of a artificial scarcity, because I've heard that there's just like huge supply of diamonds in vaults in wherever the diamond barons are, but they actually just make diamonds more scarce on purpose by only releasing a certain amount per year to keep the value of diamonds up. That's the conspiracy theory I've heard on diamonds. But then we get to the most scarce asset that the world has ever known, which is Bitcoin, digital currency. There will only ever be 21 million of them, and 20 million of them have already been released. So there's only going to be 1 million more released over the next like 140 years. And every 4 years, the reward for mining a block of Bitcoin gets cut in half, which adds to the scarcity of the supply of Bitcoin. So it gets more and more scarce every 4 years, which it's getting more scarce at the same time, or it's getting adopted more. Like there's more and more Bitcoin treasury companies being created, like MicroStrategy. I think there's like 140 or so right now, all over the world. And then we're having these bills getting passed by states. We have the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve getting passed, executive order by Trump that says they're going to accumulate Bitcoin. So all of these big entities are going to try to get more Bitcoin for themselves, but the supply is getting smaller and smaller. And I think there's only about 2 million Bitcoin right now that are on exchanges. And with big players, big buyers, they'll usually contact these exchanges and just say, we want to buy, 10,000 Bitcoin. And then that's like traded behind the scenes, and it doesn't really do nothing to the market because it's not being bid on the open market. It's being privately exchanged in the background. But once that supply runs out and you can't make these private deals anymore, and all new Bitcoin has to be either mined or bid for in the open market, that's when the real price appreciation happens. And we haven't even got to that yet. So I'm not sure when that'll happen. Might not be till next cycle, but that's when Bitcoin starts going into 1 million plus per coin. And it'll probably be about $13 million a coin by 2045. So you can bookmark this video and come back in 2045 and see if I was right. And I'm betting it'll be $1 million a coin by 2030. So probably 2029. And this cycle, I'm still saying that Bitcoin will be 300,000 by November 2025. And that's what I've been saying since, probably March of 2024. I've not changed my target. It's getting pretty dark already. It's 8:06 p.m. To watch this dog take a dump. I am going to go all the way to the picnic table, and I'll be wearing my light on the way back. Hello. So yeah, Bitcoin's the most scarce asset ever created. And then you'll hear people say,
split pace,
17 minutes, 19 seconds per mile. I've noticed my pace has picked up where I'm not even walking my fastest pace. The other day I was walking like 16-minute miles. But yeah, you'll hear people say, you know, it's just Bitcoin's imaginary internet money, not backed by anything. It has no intrinsic value. It's completely worthless. It's all speculation. And it's really the people's, you know, what makes money have value is people putting their time and energy into it. So if you go work at your job, you get a paycheck, you put that paycheck into Bitcoin, and 250 million other people do the same. Now Bitcoin has value. It's not going to have value on its own. It's people using it as a store of value that gives it value, which is the same as the dollar or any currency in the world. It's people putting their value into the currency with their time and effort that give it value. And you exchange that time or effort for products and services. You know, what that medium of exchange is really irrelevant as far as, you know, what has intrinsic value. The US dollar does not have intrinsic value. Gold itself does not have intrinsic value. It's just a shiny, heavy rock. You know, what gives it value is people willing to exchange their time and effort, their work, in exchange for whatever the medium is. And that medium has been different things over the history of humanity. They used to use seashells, you know, specific type of seashells on these remote islands as their money. So they would put their time and effort into getting seashells, which were hard to get on this island, which made them scarce. And then they'd trade these seashells for products and services. And, you know, that system worked because the seashells were scarce. But then these Spanish explorers came to the island and saw that they were using these seashells as a store of value. And they went to other islands where these islanders were kind of, you know, they didn't go out very far to find other seashells. It was just the ones that they found on the island. You know, so these explorers went and got seashells from other islands and brought them back and basically ruined the economy because they were trading, you know, getting putting this abundance of seashells into their economy and taking all the products and services in exchange for it. But now that there's an infinite supply of these seashells, they're not worth anymore, and the whole seashell economy collapses. So that's kind of what's happening with fiat currencies around the world, is they are putting so much of them into the supply of money that they're devaluing the currency so much that the economy is starting to crack. So you have to find a medium of exchange that can't be inflated, where gold is a pretty good one, but still it can be inflated by more people mining and finding, you know, big deposits of gold. But the only thing that has ever been created that is absolutely scarce is Bitcoin. And it has no central issuer. It's decentralized and the most secure network on the planet. It runs on 22,000 nodes around the world and is backed by an ungodly amount of hash power with SHA-256 encryption that would take like 56 times the age of the universe to brute force crack it. So it's uncrackable. The most secure network in the world. So that's what gives it value, is it's a medium of exchange that is absolutely scarce. At least we know the limit of the supply is 21 million, only will ever be. And there will be 1 million more over the next 140 years. But the rate that we're getting more Bitcoin is like at 1%, I think, now. So it's the scarcest asset in the world right now, where gold is like 2 or 3, and it's like the next most scarce. So using that as a medium of exchange or a store of value, putting your time and energy into it, knowing that it can't be deflated by governments printing more of it or by discovering more of whatever it is, like gold and seashells and it used to be like gold coins was, used as a medium of exchange, and then governments were like shaving the coins to take some of the value out of the coins. So you can't do that kind of stuff with Bitcoin. It's all digitally audited every 10 minutes, and the ledger of what everyone owns is audited every 10 minutes on 22,000 nodes around the world. And you can run your own node in your bedroom at home, and you'll have a copy of every transaction and every wallet in the world of what everyone owns right there on your computer in about 900 gigabytes of data. Hello. So it is true that nothing really has intrinsic value. Even gold, diamonds. I guess you could say like someone's life has intrinsic value because you can't get another one. It's absolutely scarce. As far as your own life, you only get one life. But it's the time and energy that we put into these things that we trade for products and services is what gives whatever that medium of exchange is its value. And so the best thing to put that time and energy into is the most scarce thing. And the most scarce thing is Bitcoin. So that's why it's going to keep going up forever. As more people adopt it, and everyone is going to adopt it sooner or later. The dollar might not go away, but the dollar will eventually be backed by Bitcoin, as well as every currency around the world. It's going to be the digital gold of every currency in the world, because fiat dies. You can't just keep printing something forever. It's going to collapse. And the cracks in that collapse are already starting to show. And Bitcoin is the escape hatch. So that's why you should start investing in it. as soon as you can, dollar cost average. Not financial advice. That's why I started buying it as soon as possible and dollar cost averaging into it. I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. I saw some YouTube channels getting shut down recently, just talking about Bitcoin like that. But it's inevitable. Inevitable. I don't know how long it'll take, but it might take 20 years. But I think it'll be sooner. And the earlier that I started buying it, the better off you'll be in the future. So there's my latest Bitcoin talk. And then there are some new Bitcoin proxy companies that have sprung up. Metaplanet is basically like the MicroStrategy of Japan, and they've been blowing up. And then there's the blockchain group that's in France. It's like the strategy of Europe. So I've invested a little bit in both of those guys, and it's been doing very well. But still, I'm like 90% into strategy, which is just leverage Bitcoin. I've been saying everyone's owned Bitcoin, but strategy owns 2 times the Bitcoin by taking out debt at 0% and using that debt to buy more Bitcoin and getting more Bitcoin per share than you would ever otherwise have by just buying Bitcoin. Although it's more volatile, so the price will go up faster than Bitcoin, but the price will also go down faster than Bitcoin. Oh, we made it out of the dark woods. I wonder how dark that walk will be for you guys. Whew. I haven't even taken a drink yet. It's been talking my head off. Sun's already behind the trees. Get to my picnic table. Oh man. Yeah, but I could talk about Bitcoin for 8 hours straight. There we go. You could also see the sun moved over to that part of the sky when it used to be over there. Due to the rotation of the earth around the sun. So suck on that, flat earthers. Set up a little tripod. There we go. There we go. All right. Now I wish I had my sweat rag. Woo. Headband soaked. I didn't mention it was like 95 degrees outside. Woo. Hot. Although it cooled down. It feels cooler when the sun's not directly on your face. Use my shirt. These are some new shirts I got called Air Knit by Mac Weldon. I think it's Mac Weldon. Awesome shirts, highly recommend them. Very cool, cooling. Well, I get my full thing of cold iced tea that I've not touched. Oh yeah, that hit the spot. Oh. Have a look at the beautiful park. It's 2.81 miles. So I'll get in about 6 miles of walking a day. Not too bad, not too bad. I did notice that my weight loss slowed down when I stopped walking. So getting used to just taking some nice long walks in the afternoon around sunset, I would recommend. Can really help with weight loss. And I really hated walking back when I started, when I was 350 pounds. And I could barely walk to the entrance of my neighborhood. I would just walk down there and come back. And eventually I made it down to walk to the end of the street outside of my development. And just slowly go out farther and farther. You know, just walk how far you can walk for a week or two and then expand your range. And I've gone up to walking 10 miles at one time. Although that was a little much. I got blisters from that. This is a pretty good walk. Plus I like walking through the woods better than walking around the streets. Noisy cars. And you get some shade from the trees. It's much better. Well, that's all I got. So I hope you enjoyed this little walk and talk about my weight loss and Bitcoin MicroStrategy. But also I was talking about how the global M2 money supply is how much they're printing. And hopefully I put up that chart earlier of showing how the price of Bitcoin follows how much money that they're printing in the world almost perfectly. So it's delayed on about a 3-month delay. So you can kind of see 3 months into the future of where the price of Bitcoin is going to be, which is pretty crazy. And I've only recently learned this. And it might actually make, timing Bitcoin prices, more feasible. But right now, the M2 for the next 3 months is up and to the right. So Bitcoin price should be up and the right for the next 3 months at least. And then as that time goes on, we'll see where the M2 money supply has gone from there. And that will give us a hint on where the price of Bitcoin is going. So pay attention to that. All right, that's all I got for now. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll talk to you later. Take it easy.